is empty. Once we fill it in, well then we lose that hint. And unless we have a separate label, some kind of, there's no values inside it, so it looks a bit silly, just an empty drop down. We have our button which looks nice with the accent and the nice click effect. And then we have our standard edit text with the hint inside. Now I'm just going to fill these out to show you what it's like for the user. So I'll click inside contact name, and I'll just type Jane Muck salesperson. And then there can be some fictional UK mobile number. And then I'll do my name. Okay. Then I'll just put some date inside here. 24th October 2020. Okay. So if I just close the keyboard. So one major drawback with the standard edit text is even though we can have a hint which guides the user what to type in when the field is empty, once we fill it in, well then we lose that hint. And unless we have a separate label, some kind of small text view either to the left of it or above it, then after the user has typed in the value of the field, they no longer get a guide as to what that field was for. And that might be just about okay for a simple app like this, although even then it would be nice to have the reminder as to what each field is. But can you imagine a more complicated form where some of the fields might be very similar, first name, middle name, last name? You're going to want to give the user that guide even once there's a value inside the field. Okay, so in the section overview, we talked about this new widget called the text input layout. Then that also comes with a special edit text called a text input edit text, all as one word. Okay, so this comes straight from the Google Material Design Library. These are not views that we get by default in a blank project, so we are going to need to find the dependency for this. And you might think, oh, I can just do Android text input layout dependency, find that. But actually, what we're going to want to get is the whole material library. So we can go now onto the internet and find the dependency that we need for our material design library. So let's do that now. Okay, so I'm going to search Android material dependency that you can see there, and search. Now there is a link to developer.android.com, but this particular one you want to get from material.io. So not all libraries come always from the developer.android.com. This one we want from material.io, because material design isn't just for Android. It's for iPhone, it's for web, it's for any design style that wants to use this kind of paper-like design style that they pioneered. So material.io, we'll click this one. And if we scroll down a little bit, we get to the dependency section, and we'll copy this line. So I'm going to triple click this and copy. Now you'll see they haven't put the version number in here, they've just put arrows and then version, and they don't actually specify in this document what the current version is, which is a bit unhelpful. However, in the latest version of Android, when we copy this line in, Android Studio itself will tell us, hopefully, what the latest version number is. So let's just copy this line exactly as it is. So back to Android Studio, I'm going to minimize the emulator now, and we need to go to our build.gradle file. So you can do Shift-Shift, or I will do project, and it's the build.gradle file, not at the top level, not this one, but the one inside app that we need, this one here. So double click the one inside app, okay, and then if we scroll down to the dependencies block, and I'm going to put it under these ones that say implementation. I'm not going to put it next to the test ones. I'm going to copy that line exactly as is. And yep, straight away, Android Studio gives us a warning. When I hover over this, it says a newer version is available, 1.2.1. So I can swap out this version placeholder for 1.2.1, and then the warning goes away. I'll remove the line breaks, and I'll click sync now, or the little elephant icon, either or. Sync now, and that's going to go on the internet, take our shopping list, take our ingredients, and it's going to download those files. Okay, that appears to have finished. So now we can go into activity_main and replace those edit texts for our special text input layouts. So activity_main, and we can start replacing these edit texts. So just above the first edit text, I'm going to make a few line breaks and do a left arrow, and with a capital T do text, capital I, input, capital L for layout. Okay, you can see as I type that I do get an autocomplete, but because my font's quite big, it's not very helpful, can't really see it. Although if I press down on my keyboard, the down arrow, I do see the full thing there. So it's quite a long namespace, the whole com.google.android thing. But text input layout is the one that we want, so go ahead and autocomplete that. And just like the other fields, we'll do match parent and wrap content. And this time, rather than a self-closing tag, this is actually a container. This is a view group, a bit like linear layout. So we'll do a right arrow, and then we'll get the normal closing tag. Okay. And then I'm going to cut and paste the edit text into this. So Control X, and then I'm going to put it inside this layout. So right now we have a text input layout with an edit text field inside it. Now this should work, but best practice is to change the edit text for a text input edit text, just like our text input layout. So double click edit text and start typing capital T, text, capital I, input, and then capital E for edit, and then autocomplete that. So we're going to upgrade our edit text to a text input edit text. So this pattern of a container of a text input layout with a text input edit text inside, yes, it's more code, it's a little bit more work, but this pattern will become pretty routine after a while. You'll get used to it because of all the goodies and the value that it brings doing it this way. Now we can leave the hint in the edit text, but the documentation recommends we put the hint actually on the text input layout, not the edit text. So go ahead and cut this, Control X or Command X, and we'll put this in the text input layout. If we look to the right, we can still see our hint. And just to get a feel for what it's going to look like when there's some text inside it, let's do a tools text in the text input edit text. So make a new line, do our tools namespace, colon, and type text, autocomplete. And we'll do a made up name, we'll just say example name or whatever you want. Remember, because it's under the tools namespace, this will never show in our project. Now if I look to the right, I can see that our hint has floated above the edit text value. So when the field is empty, like contact number, the hint will fill the field. And as soon as the user clicks in it or enters a value, that same hint will float above. So we get the best of both worlds, okay? So I'm going to go ahead now and rush through changing these things. Feel free to pause the video as I do this, but I'm going to do it quite quickly. So I'm going to surround each edit text with a text input layout, match parent wrap content, a normal right tag, because the edit text goes inside it. So cut and paste, change this for text input edit text. Okay, move the hint to the text input layout, and then just so you can see what it looks like, put a tools text attribute in with an example number. So this can be 07711225344. Very good. And let's do text input layout above this, match parent wrap content, normal arrow, cut and paste this inside, sort the line breaks out, cut the hint and put it in the text input layout. As mentioned, it would work with the edit text, but it's better practice to do it on the layout, and then change the edit text to a text input edit text. Then I'll do a tools text attribute, and I'll do my display name. Okay, and then just the final available from date. Same thing, text input layout above it, with match parent height wrap content, right arrow, and move the edit text inside, change the edit text for text input edit text, and then cut and paste that hint into the text input layout. Just adding a tools text attribute with an example date. We'll do 25 October 2020. Okay, I'm going to do a Control-Alt-L Command-Option-L to make sure all those attributes are in a nice tidy order. Okay, remove some of the pointless line breaks. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Yeah, that's looking quite tidy. One of the final things that I will do, just while we're in this layout file, is each of the edit texts, I'll specify what the input type is. This way, for our phone numbers, we can ensure that only a numeric keypad comes up, and then when we do a date, we'll get a numeric keypad with a slash for the month, okay? So let's do our contact name. We'll do input type, just like that, and we'll say text cap words. After all, most names have each name being capitalized, so text cap words will be good. For the contact number, I'll do input type. I can actually type phone, so that may even give us the plus symbol as well. For the my display name, I'll do the same, text cap words, input type, text cap words. And then for the available from date, we'll do for the input type. All most names have each name. For our phone numbers, we can ensure that only a numeric keypad comes up, and then when we do a date, we'll get a numeric keypad with a slash for the month, okay? So let's do our contact name. We'll do input type, just like that, and we'll say text cap words. After all, most names have each name being capitalized, so text cap words will be good. For the contact number, I'll do input type. I can actually type phone, so that may even give us the plus symbol as well. For the my display name, I'll do the same, text cap words, input type, text cap words. And then for the available from date, we'll do input type. And then if you type date, then when the user clicks that, they'll get the keyboard specific to that type of content. Okay. One final auto format. And that looks pretty good to me. Let's run this now just to see what clicking around this layout is like. Okay. Right now, all the fields are empty, but when I click contact name, the value floats above and the whole field gets highlighted. If you look at the keyboard, it gives us capital letters first of all. So Jane, and when I do a space, it capitalizes automatically for me. That's because we did input type cap words. Okay, I'll type the rest of my keyboard. Contact number, when I click this, we get a numeric keypad, which is a really nice experience for the user. Okay, my display name, I'll type this one. If I close the keyboard and scroll down, and when I click the available from date, we get the slash, so I can do 25/10. Okay, so if I just close this field down, in your experience as a developer, you may hear the term user interface, or UI, and then user experience, UX. So UI and UX, user interface, user experience. So the user interface would be the actual layout itself. What does it look like? How pretty is it? How clear is it? What are the fonts? What are the sizes? That kind of thing. What does it look like? And then the user experience, if I click in the state field again, is this sort of thing. It's not just the way it looks, but it's how it is to interact with the user. So just by saying input type date, and then getting this numeric with a slash keyboard, that's a nice experience for the user. I hate typing dates on my phone where I get presented with an alphabet keyboard. Totally useless. It makes me have to fiddle with my keyboard. So we have a nice user interface with the well-formatted fields, but then we also have a nice user experience as we click through and we get a keyboard appropriate to what we're typing. Okay? I've just realized I forgot to put the margin top on my text input layout, so I'll quickly do that now. So, don't need it on the first one. Margin top ATP. I'm going to copy that line on the other two text input layouts, and one at the bottom. Auto format, and I can click the run arrow, which looks like a looped arrow with the A, and that should apply those changes without it restarting the whole thing. So let's apply those. And in just a moment, we see, there we go, we have the spacing, okay? So, very good. We have the new text input layout, part of material design, looks really nice, behaves really nice, with a floating hint that you can see, yeah? And we've even covered the concept of a user interface and the user experience, UI and UX. The text input layout is fantastic UI and quite a nice UX. Okay, let's dive in now to the Kotlin code of our app. I'm back in main activity now in our Kotlin main activity class, and it's time to show you how finding the views on the screen, the find view by ID thing works in a Kotlin project. Much of it is the same, one or two differences with variables that we've already seen in that Kotlin Foundations tutorial, and also I get to show you the fantastic way that Kotlin handles button click listeners a lot easier than in Java. So underneath set content view, let's declare a variable for our button first of all. Now we're going to declare a variable and assign it straight away using find view by ID, just like in Java. So because we're assigning it, it's going to remain fixed. The value isn't going to change. So because of this, we will use val for a value rather than var, because we're not going to change this button reference later. So val, we'll call it the preview button. The name of the variable comes first, remember. And then it's of type button. I did mention that sometimes we don't have to put the type can be inferred. But in a moment you're going to see why in this case we do need to put the variable type. So colon, and then the type button. And then this is going to be equal to find view by ID, r.id, button preview. Okay, remember, no semicolon. So after we've declared the variable, the find view by ID thing works exactly as it did in Java. So I said in the Kotlin Foundations tutorial on variables, it's preferred to not specify the type where possible, that we can omit this. However, if I do this here, if I delete the colon on the button where I specify the type, we get a warning, and when I hover over the warning, it says there's not enough information to infer what the variable is. So in this find view by ID method, there's nothing in this that tells the main activity what the type is. We can actually specify the type using those diamond brackets here. You know, we've seen this before in some of our adapter code. So we could put button in there, and now the problem goes away because main activity knows what's being returned by this find view by ID. So you can do this, but I find this a bit more fiddly to type, so I prefer to actually not use the type diamond brackets like we do in our adapter. I prefer to leave that off and just declare the type. So this would be one example where it is preferable to specify the type, makes the code look nice and clean, and also main activity knows what type of view it's finding. So that's all we need to do to find our preview button, and let's now see how button click listeners work in Kotlin in Android. So on a new line, we'll do preview button dot set on click listener, just like before. So I'm going to start typing this, and you'll see we have a couple of options. We have set on click listener with the view.onClick listener, like we've seen before. We have this option, okay, with the brackets. But actually, there's another option in Kotlin. If I just undo that, the top one doesn't have view.onClick listener. It just has some curly brackets with 3 dots inside, and then some weird view goes to unit syntax that we don't need to worry about at this exact moment. If you do this one, the one with the curly brackets and that view arrow unit thing, and autocomplete, then we get some curly brackets. And I can put a new line in between these brackets, a couple of lines like that. And believe it or not, in Android, for button click listeners, that's all we need to do. Okay, so in a later section, we will cover in detail the concept of interfaces, because a bit like an abstract class, but with some subtle differences, a view click listener is what's called an interface. And there's some understanding we need to go through just to unpick how that's a bit different to an abstract class. Okay? But in short, if you get an interface like the click listener with only one method, which we remember is called onClick, then Kotlin lets you just do these curly brackets, and all of that other boilerplate background code just happens under the hood. So in short, we can do set on click listener. Notice that we don't have any brackets here. There's no normal brackets. But what we do have is just the 2 curly brackets, and then this is our onClick code, which is brilliant. So what I'll do now is just a toast, and doing toasts in Kotlin is identical to how it is in Java. So toast.makeText. The context will be this screen, so this. The text will just say, my button click works in Kotlin, or whatever you want, just for fun. And then toast.lengthLong, and not forgetting .show. So that's identical to Java, apart from the semicolon. Let's just run this now to see this working. And when I click the preview message button, my button click works in Kotlin. Brilliant. So I'll go back to this code now, and we'll do a couple more things by finding some of the other views. So I'll delete the toast for now, so delete all this, and let's actually make a method, a separate block of code in our main activity to keep our code nice and tidy. So underneath here, I'm going to type on preview clicked, and then the curly brackets, just like in Java, and I'm going to use this error to create the method if you can do the same. For now, do what I'm doing and use the error to create the method. We haven't covered functions and methods in our Kotlin Foundations tutorials yet, so we'll happily let Android make the code for us for now. So I'll do Alt-Enter, or you can click the little red light bulb and do create function, but I'll do Alt-Enter, create function, and then you can see we've got a private method, a private function below. And in this, I'm going to find just a couple of the edit texts, or the text input edit texts. I'm going to find a couple of those views, and then just put the value of those fields in the toast. So let's do a val for our contact name edit text, and it's of type, text input edit text. Okay, so contact name edit text of type text input edit text equals find view by ID, r.id, and it was edit text contact name. And I'm going to duplicate this line, so Control D, Command D, and I'll call this one contact number edit text, and just make sure I change the ID to contact number. Okay, so I'll create a little template string from these edit texts. So I'll do a val. Remember, these are all fixed values. Once we assign them, they're not going to change later. We don't need VAR at the moment. So val, our test string, I'll call it. This time I won't specify the type because it will be inferred, so just do equals now. And we'll do contact name edit text dot text. Okay, so not get text, but actually just text in Kotlin, a little bit easier. Dot toString. In Java, it would have been get text. And actually that still works in Kotlin, but there's actually an easier way of saying we can use just text. So contact name edit text dot text to string plus, we'll do a comma and a space, and then plus the contact number edit text dot text to string. So we've just made a little test string to show that we can get the values out of our edit text fields. And I'll do another toast nice and quickly. Context of this, the text is our test string, and we'll do it for a long time, toast.lengthLong dot show. And let's run this now. Context of this, the text is our test string, and we'll do it for a long time toast.lengthLong dot show. And let's run this now. So now I can put a name in here, John Salesman, and contact number, just a fake number. And then when I click the preview message button now, I can see those values in the toast. So that's a first look at doing some of those things we used to do in Java, like finding a view on the screen and assigning it to a variable. And we've also seen the awesome way that Kotlin handles on-click listeners. No more boilerplate code, just a pair of curly brackets, and then the on-click code. Fantastic.